It's good to be here. Thank you, Jason, and thanks to Woody and Mike Bartner and everyone that's organized this conference. It's a really important gathering, and I look forward to talking to you about this provocative subject, which many in the room can relate to as females. Let me start by saying that my first job, my first real job when I was 14 was caddying for Wall Street bankers and traders in suburban New Jersey. Some of you know this story. And so I kind of had a front row seat in the mid-'80s to the development of the kind of Wall Street finance that we have today. This was before leverage buyouts, before algorithmic computerized trading, before the internet. And so back then, as far as I could tell, there were some people on Wall Street that many of the firms were organized as partnerships, for example, and they were investing their own money instead of securitizing everything and using a gigantic amount of leverage. And it was fascinating to me, mostly though, because, well, first of all, this is on a golf course in suburban New Jersey, so there were no women there by definition on weekends because there were no women that were allowed to play golf on weekends. And what I got to hear, or what I didn't hear when I would ask these guys, what do you do? They couldn't explain it to me very well. Many of them could barely explain it to me at all. And yet these are the people who have the most wealth in the country, and in many ways the most power. And so that was confusing and jarring for me. My dad was a sheets and towel salesman, and I came from a long line of Quaker farmers and small business people outside Philadelphia. And so I was kind of trying to understand what was going on, and I wasn't able to do that real well. So that's where my fascination / obsession began. And since then, I've been trying to understand how does the financial system work, and how could we bring, as Woody says, bring money back down to earth. So this is Lakshmi, who's the goddess, the Hindi goddess of wealth. And the reason I'm putting this image up there is because you'll notice that she's a woman, and you'll notice that she's not standing in front of Grecian columns that make up the facade of the New York Stock Exchange. She's standing in a forest, an intact forest, and I think that this is one of the key points I'd like to make, is that from my experience working with female investors, women investors, they tend to have more of a sense of the whole. They tend to be able to see more the interdependence of things. And they tend to be, right now, questioning things in such a way that it's going to quite a bit deeper level than most, let's say, of the men that I encounter. And Judy Wicks, who you hear from next, has talked to me for years about how it's not just men and women. Each of us, wholeness is made up of each of us having a masculine and feminine aspect of ourselves. And so I subscribe to that, but I'll keep going. Trying to be provocative here with how it's going so far. So this is Lakshmi, and that's the main thesis I'd like for you I'm going to try and test out with you. So here we have a quote from former Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner, who said, "Most financial crises are caused by a mix of stupidity, greed, and recklessness, and you can't legislate away stupidity, greed, and recklessness." So to go along, this was in reference to the most recent financial crisis, and to go along with this quote, I have a quiz for you. About half of the people who work on Wall Street are women. How many US financial services companies in the United States are led by women? Any guesses? Close, less than 3%. So again, one of my themes here is that until that becomes more into balance, I don't think we want all of, in the gender analysis here, we don't want all of one thing or another, but I would argue that having 97% of the US financial services firms in the United States being led by men is part of the reason why we have what we have and why we're going to keep getting what we're getting. And another thing that's interesting is as a side note because in my prep for the talk, I was reading another statistic, which is that Bloomberg last year did a study, and somewhere between